Hello and welcome to Woke Watch, an ongoing series of videos where we expose woke ideology for the steaming pile of horse shit it really is. Except that of course manure does have its uses. And today is another happy video about a woman, a relatively young woman, who's gone viral for exposing woke nonsense. Not just any woke nonsense once again within the field of academia. This is 20-year-old Olivia Krolchuk, and aside from her surname sounding like a bad hand at Scrabble, where you just try and make something up and hope everyone believes you, a Krolchuk, yeah, that's a tool used to make birdhouses. She's a student at the University of Cincinnati, where she is studying women's gender studies in pop culture. And I'm sure when she passes that course, it will bring in countless offers of long-term, stable employment. But her proposal for a project was knocked back by a woke professor. Let's let Olivia explain it.
I got a 0 on a project proposal in my class because I used the term biological women, which is apparently not allowed anymore. She even said it was a good project proposal, but I got a 0 because I used this term and it's exclusionary and not allowed anymore, so. And I 100% know that this is like the most biased grade ever because my project is about transgenders competing in biological women's sports. How am I supposed to do my final project if I can't use the word biological women? But that's what my project is about.
So her project was going to be about the history of women in sport, beginning with the first women to compete in the Olympics and going up to the modern day question of whether or not trans women, that is biological men who identify as women, and should they be allowed to compete against biological women in women's sport. The answer of course is simple. Of course they fucking shouldn't. Olivia had previously clashed with the professor when she had the audacity to challenge the professor's statement that all white men are privileged. Olivia simply said, that's not fair. And she's right, because although we know male privilege and white privilege exist, if you're born a white male, but it's a single parent household and your mother is a heroin addicted prostitute, you're unlikely to get the best start in life. So Olivia emailed her professor, and the reply stated that using the term biological woman was transphobic because the woke can never miss an opportunity to play that fucking card. Olivia was also told she was implementing TERF ideology, defined as, and I quote, women who fight for women's rights but exclude trans because they think women's rights are being affected by trans people. Which they are. And her project was about women's sport relating to feminism. So a 20-year-old feminist had her project turned down by a woke professor because she dared to explore the idea that biological men, trans women, whether they have dysphoria or they're just cross-dressing perverts, those aren't her words, they're mine, whether biological men should or should not be able to compete against biological women. The woke professor turned her project down because her woke ideology didn't align with fucking reality. But crucially, Olivia did not name her professor. She didn't want the academic to get into trouble. But this woke fucktard then took it upon herself to go on the internet and try to defend her position.
Imagine failing a student for saying biological woman and then bragging about it and actually thinking you're in the right. That's exactly what my professor at University of Cincinnati is doing. And keep in mind that I did not release her name. She has chosen to become the ringleader of woke professors on her own. She apparently decides what terminology is outdated and then gets to fail someone on an assignment for that. But don't fret, she believes in free speech. But that ends when you are intentionally or unintentionally participating in systematic harm. So the word biological woman is systematic harm, and therefore you do not get to participate in free speech. I don't think she knows what free speech is because she's saying, hey, I believe in free speech and the right to free speech, but that ends when I don't like what you're saying. Just going back to this really quick, she admits that she has done this multiple times in the past. For her to come out and say, hey, this has happened in my class multiple times before, I've done this before, just goes to further prove my point that we have a real issue happening in our educational system. And if you want to hear more about the full story of what happened, go ahead and check out my YouTube channel, which is linked in my bio, and you can find it under the name The Biological Woman or by Olivia Krolchuk.
I imagine the professor's thought process, her internal monologue, sounds like someone throwing snooker balls into a cement mixer. The issue of trans women in women's sports is everywhere. It's all over the news, and even a cosseted university professor should have heard of it. But again, the woke are immune to logic and reason. And one of the people Olivia was proposing to talk about was Riley Gaines, now a prominent women's rights activist, but formerly one of the swimmers forced to compete with transgendered cheat and locker room pervert Leah Thomas. And just a few days ago, Riley was speaking and actually tearing apart woke activist Kelly Robinson with the help of Senator Kennedy.
Do males have an advantage over females biologically in sports?
Again, I'm not a physician and I can't speak to that.
What's your real world experience?
It depends. I mean, there are some people who are born male that I'm faster than if I were to sprint against them, and some that I'm not. Some males that are taller than some women, and some that are shorter.
You don't believe that a biological male has a physical advantage in sports over a biological female?
Not as a definitive statement.
Give me an example. Well, no, I don't think. How many female members of the NBA do you see?
Well, I can say that, there's been this news article about men that think that they could beat Serena Williams in tennis, right? That they think that they could actually score a point on her. And it's just not the case. She is stronger than that.
What's your experience, Ben? Male, female?
Both Serena and Venus lost to the 203rd ranked male tennis player, which they're phenoms for women. My experience, my husband, he swam at University of Kentucky as well. In terms of accolades and in terms of national ranking, I was a much better swimmer than him. He could kick my butt any day of the week without trying.
Okay. I just think, Ms. Robinson, I'm trying.
I absolutely love that Riley destroyed that woke half-wits argument that some men think they can score a point against Serena Williams when a man outside the men's top 200 beat both the Williams sisters in the same fucking day. Because what these woke cretins don't understand is no one's saying women aren't as good as men at sport. We're saying men and women are different, therefore should not compete in the same category. Because Serena Williams, the greatest female tennis player of all time, on paper doesn't rank in the men's top 500. And that's the thing that all these woke idiots refuse to get through their heads. No one is saying that men are better at sport than women. It's that men and women are different. So if you're born a man, you have an unfair advantage competing against women. It's not about denying people's truths, even though it's based completely on a lie, or stopping people from expressing themselves as they wish to. It's that it isn't fucking fair. Personally, I think it's fantastic that these women, particularly younger women, because Riley's only 22 years old, are going up against these so-called academics, and these stupid woke bastards are getting their asses handed to them because we've tried to be nice, we've tried to play along, but nothing is ever good enough for them. And now they're being exposed for the utter fucking idiots that they are. But it is sad that it's been 105 years since the suffragette movement disbanded, when they started to get something approaching the first rights for women. And now, over a century later, we have a new generation of young women who aren't fighting for their right to vote, they're fighting for their right to exist. That's a very dark note to finish this video on, so, okay, one for all the straight men and lesbians watching. Olivia and Riley, which one would you fuck? I have to say, I'm not overly fussy. As ever, thanks for watching.